The Blue Girl and the Deity.
Beneath the vaulted ceilings of the decaying family estate, Lenore moved through a world sculpted entirely in shades of blue. To her eyes, the rotting tapestries were woven of pale sky, and the flickering candles burned with gentle sapphire flames. No crimson rose or golden beam had ever touched her perception, leaving her trapped in a cold, eternal twilight. The gargoyles outside stared through indigo mist, mirroring the stony silence. Beneath the vaulted ceilings of the decaying family estate, Lenore moved through a world sculpted entirely in shades of blue. To her eyes, the rotting tapestries were woven of pale sky, and the flickering candles burned with gentle sapphire flames. No crimson rose or golden beam had ever touched her perception, leaving her trapped in a cold, eternal twilight. The gargoyles outside stared through indigo mist, mirroring the stony silence that governed her, battered her focus and frayed her frayed nerves. Overwhelming sensory noise thrummed through her skull, a relentless dysregulation she could neither mute nor organize. The internal volatility left her weeping in corner shadows, overwhelmed by a mind perpetually at war with itself. She cursed the monotonous cyan hue around her, convinced that her mental distress was bound to this single, suffocating tint. If only I could see the full spectrum, she whispered to the cavernous hall. Perhaps my fractured thoughts would finally align. Her desperation reached a fever pitch as a severe mood crash tore through her spirit, drowning her in unbearable despair. Clutching her chest, she dropped to the damp flagstones, screaming into the empty darkness for deliverance from her monochromatic prison. The heavy Gothic atmosphere grew impossibly dense, the air freezing into suspended shards of lapis lazuli. From the deepest shadow of the grand hall stepped a figure clad in immaculate robes of deep, shimmering ocean blue. A deity of ancient night descended, his celestial face framed by hair as dark as a starless midnight sky. His robes rustled like silk waves upon a silent shore, radiating a terrible, divine majesty that stilled the ambient air. "I have heard your agony, child of the sapphire veil," the entity spoke, his voice echoing like distant thunder. "You suffer within your solitary perception, longing for the forbidden light of a world you have never known." Lenore looked up into his cerulean eyes, her trembling voice barely carrying across the unnatural stillness. "Grant me vision, majestic Lord," she pleaded. "Give me red, yellow, and green so my shattered mind may find rest." The deity gestured with a pale, elegant hand, lifting the ancient veil that had framed her entire existence. In an instant, the cosmic blessing was granted, throwing open her eyes to the full, unbridled spectrum of light. A violent explosion of color surged into her vision, tearing through her optic senses like jagged lightning. Scarlet screamed across the walls, a burning yellow pierced her brain, and violent greens tore through her fragile sanity. The sudden sensory onslaught was excruciating, magnifying her neurodivergent overload to agonizing new heights. The new colors were not a cure, but a deafening noise that threatened to splinter her delicate mind completely. Panic seized her heart as the chaotic hues clashed violently, driving her to the absolute brink of madness. The warm tones felt like molten fire upon her eyes, utterly lacking the cool sanctuary she had taken for granted. In that moment of frantic clarity, Lenore recognized the quiet truth of her long-standing perception. The blue world was not her cage. It was the soft, soothing balm that kept her turbulent spirit anchored. She shielded her eyes, sobbing heavily as she threw herself back at the feet of the blue-robed god. "Take it back," she wept desperately. "Restore my indigo gloom, for the full world is too loud, too cruel." "I choose the blue," she confessed, her voice filled with deep reverence. "It is my safe sanctuary, my only true calm." The deity listened with silent understanding, a gentle smile softening his stern celestial features. He raised his hand once more, sweeping away the burning scarlets, blinding yellows, and piercing greens. The harsh spectrum dissolved into thin air, leaving behind the comforting, cool embrace of endless cobalt. As the familiar azure tones washed back over her vision, a profound silence settled inside Lenore's mind. Her racing thoughts slowed to a gentle rhythm, her emotional storm dissipating into the peaceful blue void. She breathed deeply, wrapped in the cool, familiar safety of her restored, serene world. The tempest within her hushed, lulled by the quiet elegance of her eternal scion domain. The god looked down at her with newfound affection, recognizing a soul attuned to the sacred quiet of his realm. "You have chosen my sanctuary over the chaotic mortal light," he murmured, extending his hand to raise her up. "In your preference for the quiet shadows, you have proven yourself worthy to rule alongside me." Lenore took his hand, feeling the icy, comforting magic of his immortal touch course through her veins. Together, they stood within the ancient Gothic hall, bound by a shared devotion to the quiet twilight. Under a sky of shimmering lapis lazuli, the divine entity took her hand to seal their eternal union. Their midnight wedding was bound not with gold, but with vows carved into the fabric of the blue cosmos. She was no longer a lonely maiden tormented by her mind, but a queen forever safe in her beloved azure domain.